I'm Janet Marstine, Assistant Professor in the MA program in Museum Professions at Seton University, where I also am founder and director of the Institute of Museum Ethics. Recent social, economic, technological, and political shifts have created new ethical challenges and opportunities across all areas of museum activity. At the Institute of Museum Ethics, or IME, we create a physical and virtual community of emerging and practicing museum professionals and museum studies faculty who use our resources to make informed decisions about museum ethics. Through educational programming, a web portal and listserv, publications, and courses, we foreground museum ethics as central to museums now and into the future. We promote accountability, transparency, social responsibility, and democratic pluralism as the key elements that define museum ethics in the 21st century. At the IME, we are engaged in considering what kind of museum ethics might emerge from Eileen Hooper Greenhill's prescient notion of the post-museum that she articulated in her 2000 volume, Museums and the Interpretation of Visual Culture. As many of our institutions now look to embrace aspects of the post-museum, a museum that empowers its publics, whether through such activities as community curating, creating collaborative partnerships based on trust after repatriation has been carried out, or generating wall texts that speak to the big questions or controversies underlying an exhibition. The IME asks, what ethical values will the post-museum require to thrive? We look beyond the common currency in the very concrete terms of right and wrong behavior established by traditional codes of conduct. The concept of the living or breathing ethics code, which recognizes a complex network of stakeholders, which attempts to balance debate and consensus, has already begun to take hold at a few museums, including the Museum of Science in Boston. I imagine the museum sector of the future will further reimagine the ethics code into something in which a process of debate takes priority, whether at the level of association, institution, or specialization. And the result is self-reflexive, acknowledges the complexities and contradictions, and has the ability to change as the needs of society change. Several factors indicate that ethics will be a topic of great importance for museums in the future. Flagrant abuses, a museum sector that is largely self-regulating still, a media that has become aggressive in reporting unethical behavior, and rightly so, the IRS 2009 Form 990, which asks leading questions such as, does your museum have a whistleblower policy? And a public that still largely trusts museums over other kinds of institutions, together create a fascinating convergence that makes strong leadership in museum ethics imperative. The financial pressures of the recent economic downturn have created a great strain for most of our museums, causing many directors and CEOs to consider choices from capitalizing their collections to cutting educational programming that may compromise their institution's ethics long into the future. In the future, ethics will help us to consider questions as central to the museum as ownership and what a collection signifies. And it will continue to strengthen the contract between museums and society. I am optimistic and enthusiastic about the future of museums as I help to train the next generation of museum professionals. I respect them for their integrity, their embrace of diversity, and their ability to understand the complexity of museums in theory and practice.